So in the last video, we decided we're finally going to paint the Civic, so I spent my time taking off every little piece that I didn't want to get paints on. Hello and welcome, my name is Kevin, and if you guys are new here, welcome to the series where I'm building this Honda Civic using only parts that I find here at the junkyard. Alright y'all, so today we're going to start off the video here at the junkyard. In the previous one, we didn't go grab a part, we were just sanding the car, but you know, I figured I'd throw in some junkyard content in this one. Might as well, right? It is the junkyard series. Yeah, I'm over here at the, you know, one of my local spots, one of my regular spots that I like to hit. We're just gonna check out their Honda section and see what they got. Alright, so let's go ahead and walk down this Honda aisle and see if we come across anything that's worth looking at. Ooh, there it goes, down the line, I see it. I saw this the other day. Hopefully it still has the parts on it. It's pretty cool too, because you know, this yard, it usually doesn't even get new cars. Pretty happy to find this Honda here. Yep, and there she is, boys. Today's junkyard find is an EM2 Honda Civic. And it was kind of hard to identify at first because there were so many parts that were missing on it. Yeah, check it out, man. It's a Honda Civic. Not quite our generation, but I see some parts that I think we could make use of. Alright guys, let's take a look at this Honda. I believe it's an EM2 Civic. The next generation right after the EK. So these right here, they don't really get the love that EKs do. But it's cool, it's got some little goodies on it, you know? Looks like the previous owner had some fun with it. I don't know, it kind of looks like a track car, track vibes. But so anyways, let's go ahead and get a 360 of it. Walk around, do a little walk around, see what's on there. Or what's left of it. Now, I haven't found or heard of anything involving swapping parts off of a 7th gen Civic onto an EK. But I spotted some aftermarket side skirts on this car that I feel like could possibly fit onto ours. We'd probably have to retrofit it, but that's okay. Oh man, well as you can see here, it's got the engine ripped out of it. I don't know if the yard did that or the guy himself did it. Windows busted out. Yeah, let's be careful when we step inside here. Let's go ahead and open this door. Automatic. Huh. Yeah, I don't know, these Civics I was never really fond of, but you know what, I think this could be a potential for the next series. I've kind of just been thinking, should I do, you know, an EM2? No one really has content on it, so it's like, you know, kind of stuck between getting an EG or one of these. If we do pick up an EM2, I could use some of these parts. Oh, check it out, man, I see a fat ass exhaust. And check this out, what is this? Maybe he took it to the drag strip. Yeah, I don't see a manufacturer stamp, so it might just be an eBay tip. And as I lowered the trunk, I was surprised to find the EM2 spoiler still on the car. I've always wondered how these would look on the EK, so I was pretty happy to find this still here. What do you think, guys? Should we take this home? I know that we already have a spoiler that we pulled off a TSX, but this spoiler right here, this is actually the one that I've been looking for. And I used the TSX one as a replacement because, you know, it was kind of like the same style, same shape. But yeah, this is the spoiler I was actually looking for, the EM2 spoiler. This one I feel like is the closest shape to the SI spoiler, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and take that. And in order to take this spoiler off, we just gotta take the 4 bolts out from underneath and it comes right off the trunk. Oh no. Wait, I see why no one took it. It's broken on the right side. Guys, what the heck? How does this even happen? What? Man, how did I not notice? Yeah, it doesn't even look noticeable when it's actually on the car. Yeah, and look at this, y'all. When it's flat on the trunk, you could barely even notice that the bottom of it is broken off. Unless maybe we can, I don't know, I don't know. Hey, I'm gonna take it home. Maybe we can find a solution for it. We'll try to throw it on there. Yeah, so regardless of its condition, I'm gonna just go ahead and snag this part for the junkyard build. I'm sure that we can figure out a way to properly mount this onto the car, but I'll definitely have to do some experimenting. And just like that, we've now got ourselves an EM2 spoiler. I'm really excited to see how this looks on an EK Civic. Alright, so now I've got to get the car lifted up so I can take off those aftermarket side skirts that I spotted earlier. Before I go and ask an employee to lift it up for me, I'm gonna just grab some of these spare tires and roll it over there so that I can have something to prop it up with. Got to throw these underneath the car while he lifts it up. Yep, and so I had that guy right there in the forklift lift up the entire car from the top so that I could stack like 2 or 3 spare tires right underneath. Yeah, this yard doesn't allow customers to lift them up with jacks due to safety reasons, I suppose. But now that we have this car uplifted in the air, we can finally reach underneath and get those bolts out of the side skirts. And so getting a closer look at the side skirt, it actually appears to be the generic flimsy lip that you install with 3M tape. Like the ones that you can find at AutoZone or stores like that. Well, that's interesting. So really the actual part is this section right here. This right here is plastic. And the rest of this lip is essentially like that AutoZone, you know, kind of general like garage door lip trim. I guess I could just go ahead and rip this off, and this plastic piece right here, it's only held on by, I think it's got screws in it, so. Probably didn't even need the car to be lifted up for that, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, the guy just screwed this in with 3 self-tapping screws. All right, well, I don't think this bit is worth taking off anyways. It's just ripping off. Maybe I could just find this online and do it myself, but as long as we get this is what matters. So yeah, we'll just have to make up our own type of combo garage door lip right on top of this. Yeah. All right, well, yeah, I'm not too sure about these being an upgrade, but I think it'll be fun to see how they look on the Civic. Some nice little, you know, addition to the aero, give the car more of an outline. So yeah. Today we'll finally be sanding the car. This will be part 2 of this little 3-part series of how to paint your car. Not really how to paint your car, it's more of just like me documenting my process, how I do things. In the previous video, we went over how to take things off of the car and whatnot. Now we'll finally get to, now we could just go ham with this thing and not worry about scratching up all of our parts. Not really much to say, I'm just jump right into it. You've seen me sand a car before. It's real straightforward. I'll show you all the material that I use. I'll probably put all the links down below, and yeah, let's get to it. Let's just jump right in. Alright, so what you're gonna need to start sanding is an orbital sander. Be sure to get one that uses a cord instead of a battery so that it doesn't die on you while sanding. I've also picked up an interface pad which acts like a buffer so that you won't burn through the layers so quickly. It also helps prevent swirling marks that the orbital sander leaves behind sometimes. And lastly, a pack of sanding discs that hook onto the orbital sander. We'll go with 220 to scratch up the surface and then follow up with 400 to smoothen it out even further. And make sure you grab a respirator to protect your lungs. And so as far as tools go, that's pretty much all you need for now. But before I actually start, I noticed that the interface pad was just way too big for the orbital sander. Yeah, this size was all that Harbor Freight had on hand, so well, my solution is just to trim the pad so that it can fit correctly. Alright, so now that the pad fits onto the orbital sander, we should have no problems moving forward. Now for my method of sanding an entire car down, I like to section it off starting from the front, gradually moving to the back of the car. So I'll be starting with the hood, then onto the sides, and finally onto the rear end. Now for the technique when using the orbital sander, what I feel like works is just a simple back and forth motion. Making sure the pad is flat on the surface, repeatedly move the sander back and forth on the spot while gradually moving to the next sections. The tool is rapidly spinning in a circle, so you don't want to be on a spot for too long, or else it'll quickly burn through the layers and make the surface uneven. So whenever you're doing this, be sure to be constantly moving and try to apply an even pressure all throughout. Now when sanding a body panel, I also like to section it off, especially for big parts like the hood. I'll start off on one side of the hood, then move over to the other side and meet in the middle. Doing this is just an easy way to not get sidetracked and keep a steady workflow. Me, however, sometimes I just sand wherever I please and just move around to random spots so I don't get bored. But eventually it all gets sanded down properly.
Oh yeah, this is gonna take a while.
Yeah, as long as you're applying equal pressure all throughout, it doesn't really matter how you section it off. Just make sure you don't miss any spots and cover all the area. In time to time, you can feel the panel out with just your hand and glide it across to see which spots that you still need to sand down. But yeah, when doing this, the goal is just to make the surface smooth enough so that the paint can have something to latch onto when being sprayed on. There's no need to go to bare metal unless you need to fix a dent or something like that.
Real quick, I'm just gonna swap out that interface for just a regular old pad. That kind of f***ed up when choosing this hood. Sure, there's not really any crazy dents on it, but there's a whole bunch of like, how do I explain it? I guess pinholes in the paint. Check it out.
Yeah, before sanding, there was already some surface rust kind of eating at the paint here and there. The best way to describe it is, it looks and feels like the texture of an orange peel with its pitted skin. They're like tiny little paint chips. And so I want to smoothen these out completely, but with the interface pad, it's not enough pressure to cut deep into the paint. So I'll go ahead and remove it and apply the sanding pad directly to the orbital sander to really get those out. Unfortunately, we're going to have to sand to bare metal, but if we don't do this, then the texture is just going to stay and you'll see it in the final coat. In my opinion, it's not much of a crazy blemish to care for on a little Civic like this, but since I'm trying to make it look nice, I'll go the extra mile to try and correct these pinholes. So I'm gonna have to sand it down some and probably apply a thin layer of body filler to make the surface smooth and even again. Either that, or I might just hit it with a layer of primer and see if that evens it out. But yeah, I'll decide what I feel like doing when the time comes. But yeah guys, here's the hood now that I'm done getting all of those pinholes smoothened out. Hopefully yours isn't as bad as mine, but again, just sand it down to where it's smooth. And I wouldn't really worry about a couple pinholes here and there since it'll all be one color anyways and go unnoticed. But like I've always said, the quality of a paint job depends on how meticulous you are during the prep and sanding stages. So just keep that in mind. But now that I'm finally done with the hood, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the side, starting with the fender. But yeah, we're gonna get this whole entire side done. For this, I'm gonna go ahead and reattach the interface pad since there's no pinholes on this side. We can just sand it down like normal. And remember, we don't want to burn through this layer of paint too much, so be quick with your movements. And if you stay too long in one spot, you'll accidentally go all the way down the middle and leave squirrel marks behind. And sometimes you'll see me go over an area that I've already done. Just trying to make sure I cover all areas, especially for a part like this where it's got lots of curves in it. Yep, and that's how your fender should look once all completed. Should be smooth to the touch and look hazy. When it's looking like this, it's pretty much ready to be spray painted, so let's go ahead and sand the rest of the car just like that. And small sections like these are kind of tough to get into with the orbital sander, and they tend to accumulate dirt and grime over the years. So I'll just be using a brush with a cloth to wipe it down clean before hitting it with actual sandpaper. Pretty much anywhere that previously had trim covering it up. Just wipe it clean so it's easier to sand down. But now that we're done with the door, let's go ahead and move on to the quarter panel. As you see here, we're pretty close to the glass with the orbital sander. Be sure to not get too close to the edge so you don't accidentally scratch the glass up. It would have been a good idea to mask up the edges of the glass before doing this, but for time's sake, I did not. We'll be fully masking the car up in the next video instead. And then once you're done getting a majority of the area with the orbital sander, go ahead and grab some sanding paper and just sand all of the edges by hand.
Guys, look at how beautiful the sky is right now. Like, what? It's like some anime type shit.
It's a tiring process, but just make sure you're taking breaks. Take some time to enjoy the process and be proud of what you've done so far. I know the feeling of having to give up on a project because of time and money, but stuff like this, it's always worth it in the end, I feel like. Especially doing it all by yourself. Hey, but honestly, if you got a couple homies to help you out, y'all could easily knock this out in just a few hours, and then spray paint it the very next day.
Wow, that was fun.
And so now we're at the trunk area. Again, just be sure to cover all areas, and then for the parts that are too tight to get into with the orbital sander, just sand it by hand.
Alright y'all, well, sun's about to go down, so I think I'm gonna just have to finish this up tomorrow. I sanded a good majority of the car already. That was good, like, what, 3 to 4 hours of work. I think for tomorrow I just gotta hit the top and then hit the bumpers, and then I'll do the interior as well, like the door jambs. So since it's about to hit nightfall, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up and just, you know, relax for the rest of the day.
Alright, it's the next day, so now we'll finish sanding the roof and everything else. Sanding the bumpers are low-key my least favorite parts to sand, just because of all the curves and whatnot. Yeah, it's not really a flat panel, so you gotta put in extra work just to get down in there and, you know, sand it properly. But if you have a chair or stool to sit on, I definitely recommend that. Yeah, you kinda have to be nimble for this kind of work. So just a fair warning. So for the front bumper, because there's so many angles on it, the orbital sander is just way too big to fit in some of these tight areas. So just like with the edges, I'm gonna instead get some sanding paper and just sand the rest by hand. Now, in the last video, I didn't take this interior piece off because I was afraid of breaking it, but today I decided to take the time to figure it out. I ended up taking out the seats and the trim near the footwell off, and after that I was able to pull the rest off from the tabs that were holding it in. But these are actually pretty durable, so you shouldn't have to worry about breaking them. But yeah guys, take the seat out and then take this plastic cover off where the computer is. That should allow the rest of it to come off. Alright, so now that the plastic trim is out of the way, we can continue to sand the door jambs. But also, I'm gonna go ahead and cover up these manufacturer stickers with some masking tape. But yeah, once that's all done, just go ahead and get your sanding block or just sand it by hand. So again, just be sure to take off all of the rubber trim off of the doors and sand all along the edges. A paint job doesn't really look complete if you don't paint the door jambs, in my opinion, and it doesn't hurt to go the extra mile to do this. Yeah, I'm pretty much just going with a piece of sandpaper and going all along the edges that I've missed. Alright, so once the entire car is finished, the only parts left to sand is everything that we took off, so like the spoiler, side skirts, lips, side mirrors, and etc. And then once we're done sanding all the miscellaneous items, the very last thing to do is we're gonna go over the entire car with 400 grit sandpaper. And you can either do this with a sanding block or just sand it by hand. But yeah, this pretty much gets rid of all of the deep scratches that 220 grit sandpaper left behind. And I'll just be using a sanding block for all of the flat panels.
Sometimes you might just want to use your hand. Like this. So once you're done sanding the entire car with 400 grit, you can move up to 600 and, you know, make it even more smoother if you'd like. But I think I'm just gonna keep it with this. But yeah guys, that's pretty much all I'm gonna be doing for this video. I think I want to wrap this up so I can edit it and then dish it out for y'all so that I can have a video by the end of the month. But that's essentially it, man. You just, you know, prep it, take everything off, and then you start sanding the entire car. Start it off with 220, then hit it with 400, and then after that you can end off with 600 if you'd like. I was hoping to get to the Bondo work this video, but I think I'm gonna overlap that into the next video. So the next video you'll see, we'll start off the video with Bondo work, sand it down, and then we'll spray it down with some primer. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and spray the entire car. So, I'll go ahead and wrap things up over here. I'm probably gonna finish the car off of the camera. But, you know, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you got a good grasp of, you know, how to sand your car and prep it for paint. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. We're going to be spray painting it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all for the next one.